Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and in today's video we're going to be going through all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, takeover news and more into how Rangnick exposed how badly the club is run. One more deal is about to be done for Alvaro. Fabrizio Romano dropped a big update on Todibo, and leaks have exposed how those at United have neglected the club again and why the injury crisis is partly caused by that neglect. So please do hit that like button and of course subscribe down below. Let's get into the first part of the video. So Jesse Marsch, as I said in yesterday's video, sort of came out and spoke about things that Ralf Rangnick had told him. And in yesterday's video, it was kind of exposing the ownership of United and how basically no one at United knew what the long-term vision was, the long-term aim was. No one was on the same page, and because of that, there was no pressure from the inside to perform. It was all about, if we can hit the commercial metrics, that's fine, but there's no pressure to really perform on the pitch because they don't really have a goal or plan or anything that's meant to be laid out by the ownership, and that those in the football operations, John Murtagh, Richard Arnold, Darren Fletcher, don't really know their exact role. They just know that they've got to sort of be involved in this and that. But if they hadn't got like a vision for United, an identity for United, then no one at the club could be on the same page. If you have an identity at United, then the scouts would know what kind of players to scout, the recruitment would know what to kind of bring in. But United hadn't established that. But he also spoke about, Ralf Rangnick and why he didn't play great football at United, because we've seen at Austria and we've seen in the past that Ralf Rangnick is a good coach. Now, I wouldn't say Ralf Rangnick is known. I wouldn't say Ralf Rangnick is a bad coach. We've seen in Austria, we've seen in the past he's been a good coach, but he's not really known for being a coach. He's been known for his sort of recruitment and stuff. But as a coach, he obviously mentored Klopp, Tuchel, and played a very positive style of football. I remember when Ralf Rangnick was appointed, we were all quite happy Ralf Rangnick was appointed because we're like, we're going to play some good football. He can get us through to the end of the season, but most importantly, he's going to go in that consultancy role, which never happened, which was a disgrace because he would have been so much more beneficial in that consultancy role. But to be honest, would the Glazers even give him any power to have a say? Who knows? But Jesse Marsch and Ralf Rangnick, he didn't play classic Ralf Rangnick football. That was one thing, and I was a little bit surprised of. He felt early on that it wasn't going to be easy with that group of players to play the kind of football he wanted. And I think this is a big thing that Jesse Marsch mentions. Ralf Rangnick wanted to play, gegenpressing football, attacking football, fluid football. But he realised quickly at United, he's going to have to play the muck-fred counter-attack style of play that Ollie's playing, because that's what we had the players for, and most of the players were unable to follow his instructions to play the way he wants. And I think that relates to Ten Hag. Ten Hag came to United, he signed Anthony, he was begging for De Jong, so it was very obvious he wanted to play this kind of possession-based football. And then when he tried to, 2-0 to Brighton, 4-0 to Brentford, where they ran, 13.6 kilometres further than us in that game. And then you'd seen, we went back to the old style of play a little bit with Casemiro coming in and being a bit more defensive, and we grinded it out. And then at the very end of the season, we lost Brown, we lost Martinez, and that caused us problems. And then towards the end of last season, we tried to adapt to be more possession-based, where we went from a 4-2-3-1 to more of a 4-3-3, and we struggled. And we tried to do this season, and we struggled. So we sort of gone back to a little bit of the old sort of counter-attacking football, not the kind of way that I think Ten Hag wanted to play at United. And I think a big part of that is because these players are very hard to coach. I think Ten Hag needs to step up, Ten Hag needs to improve, but a lot of these players are very hard to coach. A lot of these players need to be moved on, and we don't have the kind of players to play that positive kind of football. And going back to earlier comments that Ralf Rangnick made, had Manchester United got a plan, if Brailsford comes in and he appoints Plonk and they say we want to be United that plays attractive football, and then they go and employ Dan Ashworth and Paul Mitchell and say this is sort of the identity of the club, we want to play attractive football, they go sign the players to do that, they go sign the coach to do that, bish bash bosh, United could be back on track. But I think it was interesting that Ralf Rangnick was sort of saying, he couldn't really play the football he wanted to play at Man United because he just didn't really have the players. It was difficult. And I think that was very obvious. And I think when Ralf Rangnick came in after Ollie, everyone realised that actually no manager is going to get these players playing good overnight. These players were a problem. I think I was Ollie out. And then when Rangnick came in, as bad as it was, it opened my eyes to be like, the next manager, I'm not going to be going out, because these players are a big problem. Now, I am going to talk about the transfer news. Not that there's anything particularly exciting there, but I did sort of want to talk about Ralf Rangnick and his time at United. I think it would have been really beneficial to have him in that consultancy role, but at the same time, would the Glazers have allowed him to do anything? Because I think the recruitment the last year and a half has been poor. Now, talking of poor recruitment, it's been said that Alvaro Fernandez to Benfica is a done deal. So that is another done deal this window. And it's said that United have set to get about £7.7 million, which is a farce. But reliable sources are saying that United are inserting or planning on inserting a buyback clause, or not a buyback clause, a sell-on clause of like 25%. So if Benfica do end up selling him for 70 million, like they probably will, Manchester United could then go and get maybe 17 million from that if they get a 25% or 30% buyback clause. Not buyback clause, sell-on clause. Now, there was lots of reports going out about Todibo to United, Todibo to the Premier League, Todibo moving. And we're going to get into what Romano said on this in a second, but it was said by Nice Martin that Man United will try and bank on Dave Brailsford and Ratcliffe's to use Ineos' relationship to try and sign Nice's Jean-Claude Todibo over rivals. And obviously it was said by Fabrizio Hawkins that Man United, Chelsea and AC Milan all monitoring Jean-Claude Todibo. However, Nice want to keep the defender that month, but Jean-Claude Todibo wants to move to the Prem. Todibo wants to come to the Prem. Nice want to keep him. I think the reason Spurs went for Dragusin is because Nice want to keep him and Spurs need a centre-back now. I think, but United feel they could maybe use their relationship with Nice to get Todibo. Now, Nice Martin, who's a very good source who comes out with Nice information, said Liverpool were the favourites, Liverpool the poll contenders, because Liverpool are the most serious about signing him. No surprise there. We saw that with Gakpo. But also the player might prefer Liverpool working with Klopp and his relationship with Konate, because I guess right now, if you're a player, as much as it kills me to say this, you would look at Liverpool where they're at, you'd look at United where they're at right now and go, well, I want to go to Liverpool, which is horrific to say because everyone was choosing us over Liverpool in the summer. So that was sort of said on that. But Fabrizio Romano said this: let me clarify once again, there are no favourites for the signature of Jean-Claude Todibo, and the expectation is him to move on in the summer, not now. Information remains that Nice don't want to sell him in January. I don't think anything's going to happen with Todibo until summer. I think Manchester United should be able to get him. I think if Ratcliffe is still in charge of Nice and allows him to go to Liverpool, that's a big statement, and a big statement in a very bad way. So I assume because of Ratcliffe and our relationship with Nice, we will be able to get Todibo, and surely he won't be allowed to just walk to Liverpool. And I think the reason Nice may only want to sell him in the summer is because Man United will only be able to buy him in the summer because United have no money in January and they've written off the season as well. So I think we'll be able to get him. Now, I want to get into Laurie Whitwell's report on injuries and sort of all of this kind of stuff at United, because I think there's a few interesting things said. And one of the things that was said in Laurie Whitwell's report, and do go check out The Athletic if you want the full report, really good article is highlighting injuries. But he said 3 years ago, representatives from a data science company called Zone 7 gave a presentation to Man United staff, which was well received. And at the end of the trial period, the club decided that the yearly cost of £120,000 would be better spent elsewhere, which is crazy because that's less than Anthony's weekly wage. But we wouldn't invest that into some data science company. And Liverpool also got presented and decided to actually spend the 120k and use this data science company. And Liverpool began using the software at the start of the 2022 season, which coincided with a dramatic reduction in player injuries. So basically, there was this sort of data science company that came in to help United with injuries, and United decided we're not going to invest that, even though it's less than Anthony's weekly wage. Liverpool decided to invest in this data science company, and Liverpool have had a lot less injuries than Man United as a result of that. Liverpool did have quite a few injuries last season, but in general, Liverpool's injuries went down to a total of 1,500 matches missed between all squad players to just under 1,000 matches missed between squad players. And if you look at United's injury issues this season, could United have invested in some data that's helped Liverpool and other clubs reduce injuries? Now, I think this season injuries is just inflated as a whole. World Cup, longer games, VAR stops. I think there's a lot of things that have increased injuries this season that will have nothing to do, and this data science thing could never stop that. I think the intensity of training from Ten Hag has almost been too intense and been complained about, which hasn't helped injuries. Lack of rotation hasn't helped injuries. Number of game hasn't helped injuries. But I do think United are very much lacking a lot of the sort of resources needed to help manage injuries. I think if Man United are being offered technology that Liverpool are taking on to, use data to sort of reduce injuries, and if they could employ some better staff to reduce injuries, because Ten Hag wanted to bring the Ajax medical staff and he wasn't allowed, and Jose complained about the Man United medical staff and the injuries, and Ten Hag's been complaining about it, and we're not changing that. I do think that Manchester United could have been doing a lot more to help with injuries. There's obviously a lot of factors, but I do think if we could change the staff, invest in some top facilities, some top data, that'd be great. But that just sums up United. Ronaldo said that nothing had changed in 17 years at this club. They'll happily spend hundreds of £1,000s a week paying crap players' wages, but it's 120 grand to just get some to maybe help reduce injuries at the club. No, I'll upgrade the facilities. No, it's crazy as well. And if you actually look into this, and this was interesting for Laurie Whitwell, these stats, but United have chosen 19 different defence combinations so far this season. In 11 games, his defence played together for the first time, and only 5 outfield players have not been sidelined from injury this season, which is Bruno, Garnacho, Delot, Mejbri and Pellistri. And Mejbri and Pellistri have barely even played. So essentially only 3 regular starts have not been injured in Bruno, Delot and Garnacho, which is absolutely crazy. Now, going into our final story, talking about Mejbri, he's expected to join Sevilla after the Spurs game. Hugo's gone out to Burton Albion on loan. Fakunde Pellistri, after the Spurs game, is set to be able to have negotiations, but United are going to let him go at the end of the January window just to make sure no more injuries pop up before they let Pellistri out on loan. And, of course, we know that Alvaro Fernandez is essentially a done deal. Please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Thank you for watching today's video. See you next time. Bye.